Hello. Oh gosh. Oh, good morning, my lovely. And yeah, but if you're someplace where it's not morning, that's super chill as well. Good afternoon if you're someplace where you're in the future, or if it's the middle of the night. My loves, you do not have to watch this live. We'll put the video online. You can come back. Like if you're watching this at 2 in the morning, go to bed. I'm not the boss of you, but I might gently, lovingly suggest going to bed, huh? Somebody was saying, "Oh, sorry I've been making the classes." Don't worry about it. There's no attendance for this. There's no everything's fine. These are so if you're just joining us, hello. If you're just joining us on the street, this is a boot camp built around Free Code Camp's beta curriculum for web development. The only thing we're doing here is adding some videos, adding some support, adding some structure to help you get through the curriculum. This is for you. There's no attendance, there's no tests, there's no I mean, there is me yelling at you, but that's that you get what you get. And today we're going to be talking about typography. And I'm always really excited to talk about stuff that I'm rubbish at. Um, oh, Ephedrus has got a really, really good question and say, wait. Are we going to skip the Flexbox module? I promise we're not. We are going to skip it for right now. We're going to come back in week 5 and take a look at that, just so we're looking at Flexbox and Grid next to each other. So we are going to do Flexbox. I'm going to call that out when I look at the UI, the user interface of the course. So we're going to skip it for right now. If you've already done it, everything's fine. But I promise we're going to skip it and then come back around later on. And the reason we're doing this is I thought it might be nice to make things even more confusing for people. Yeah. You know what? 2022, far too relaxing, isn't it? Let's go ahead and make stuff just a little bit weirder on everyone. Let me go ahead and find where I've got the window that I live. Fabulous. And let's take a look. So we're in the responsive web design beta course, yeah? And we're going to take a very deep breath. You ready? Whew. Oh, sorry. I'm going to collapse these. This is the account I teach on, so it's only showing that I've the ones that we've done together. We're going to come all the way down. And remember that we did the build a survey form project last week. But if you haven't finished it, that's not a big deal. These projects are the projects that you need to pass and get your certification from Free Code Camp, which is great, right? You get a certificate. Um, but a lot of folks like to work on them little piece by little piece. And as we learn more things, you may want to go back to your old projects and have a look at them. I'm going to come on down. We did some of this together. And what's evil, well, I mean, it's just a little inconvenient, is we're going to skip this Flexbox one right now. We're not going to do that yet. It's chill. We are going to come into learning typography by building a nutrition label. Yeah? Let's take a look at that. First thing we're going to get is our preview, isn't it? Okay. And this, so, ooh, can anybody tell me what does typography mean? I was about to say, oh, this is a great project for showing off typography because we've got a bunch of different things going on. But what does typography mean? Ooh, I'm going to let y'all tell me while I get started. Yeah. And we're going to go kind of fast through these first ones just because we've done them a bunch of times together, right? This says create an H1 within our body element. You know what? We've done a bunch of H1s. We feel low key confident about that. Oh, look at that Leanne, after my own heart. Typography, yeah, sort of the art of text, the science of text. It's how we display our text, what we're really doing with our text. I think it's more of an art than a science, isn't it? Well, yeah, it's how we style the text that we display. So I've created that H1 element. I've opened and closed it, and I'm going to copy and paste nutrition facts. Ooh, Shahad's pointing out like, hey, here's some examples of typography. Maybe you're changing the size and maybe you're making it bold. Nice. One thing I'm going to do throughout this unit is I'm going to copy and paste all of the text using Command C and Command V. And that's because one of the most common problems I find when I'm programming is typos. It'll say, "Boop, boop, you haven't passed your tests." And what I've done is I've just copied it wrong. Wow. Vishwakranti. I'm so sorry, my love. Your name is beautiful, and I tripped over it. It's you know what? Typography is the style, it's the arrangement, and it's the appearance. Yeah, of letters, but it's letters and numbers and signals. Really sort of those Unicode characters. This is oh gosh, I'm gonna bully you to teach these sometimes. So the first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna make a P element, aren't we? That's super chill, and it says 8 servings per container. I wonder if it's ever gonna tell us what this thing is. We've s oh, it's highlighted this because it's not sure, "Hey, do you mean container like the HTML type of container?" We're like, "No, no, babe. It's fine." This tells us everything's going okay. I'm gonna stretch the window a little bit just so we could see the "it's okay" a little better. And let's keep going. Are we feeling okay about the font? You all can see all the how are we feeling about the typography on this page? Everybody can see? What we're gonna do now is we're gonna add a second paragraph element and serving size 2/3 of a okay, maybe like so it's something where you're eating quite a bit of it. Or 2/3 of a cup, like a little like a I suppose like a mug's worth. I wonder what this is gonna be. Hmm. Jess, did you use the mug as an example of a serving size just so you could have some coffee? Yes. So we've got another P element, we'll copy and paste it. Boom, boom, boom. We're gonna keep going. Yeah. Oh, always great to call out that the bootcamp we're running is run by Class Central and that is always free. You literally can't pay us. We adore you. Um, but the curriculum we're using is Free Code Camps. They're a separate organization and they're a nonprofit. If you've got the money, donating and you feel like it, no pressure. Donating to them is a really, really solid thing to do. I do it on my other account, I promise. If you don't have the money, don't spend money you don't have. Oh gosh. Ask me later. Ask me later. Don't spend money you don't have. Okay. So we're going to add a link. Oh, there's a lot. So within our head element, we're going to link to a style sheet and we're going to set it to, oh, to this font. This is going to import a font. I think this is super important. Some of you have already taken a look at this. Why do we need to import? Why do we need to link to a font? The rel is equal to. These fonts are self-closing. Sometimes free code camps wants you to add the slash. You don't really have to add this slash. Not in the real world. So we're going to say link rel. I'm going to link here. Yeah, it's from Google Fonts. And the reason we're linking to this is fonts are oh, we get to talk about concepts that are weird to me, right? Leanne's got it. This is exactly where I was going with this. Some people might not have this font on their device. So fonts, the sort of styles that characters are displayed in, those are files. What? And there are some fonts that come with your machine. So those are called system fonts. And let's get an example. Actually, could I lovingly bully my brilliant colleague? Oh, everybody say hey to Mervin. Mervin is helping out behind the scenes. Mervin, could you grab an example of some documentation that shows what kinds of fonts tend to be system fonts, if that's not a bother, and drop it in the chat? Thank you. Sorry to always boss you about. Yeah, so some fonts come with your operating system. Okay, cool, cool. But some don't. And yeah, we know that, oh, there's some that tend to come with it. But what if I want to show you a font that's not going to come with your operating system? I can still do that. All I need to do is link to that font and say, hey, browser, I want you to show this font. I'm not sure if you already have it as part of your system fonts. Please go and get it and then show this to the user. I'd really appreciate that. When we're doing a lot of HTML work, when we're doing a lot of, I'd really say when we're doing a lot of web design or web development, what we're talking about is, hey, I want to have a conversation with this browser about what kind of work I want them to do for my user. So what we're doing is we're saying, please link a. Oh, the rel is set to. Oh, I'm rubbish. Y'all are just letting me be rubbish all day. So I've done this wrong. And the exciting thing is, web development can't hurt you. Being wrong, that's fine. Rel. So the rel is going to be set to style sheet. The ref. That's very common sense. I'm not quite sure how I just muddled through that. The rel is going to be style sheet. And this might feel a little bit familiar because this is how we link to our CSS when we're writing CSS separately, isn't it? With a link and a rel and a ref. So here we're saying, browser, please go get. So this link says, please go get another resource. The type of resource I want you to get is a style sheet. So you're going to know how to use this. And here's where it lives. Ooh, I've got such a good question here, isn't it? I'm going to click on that. So what if I have downloaded a font on my system and then I use the font family in CSS to link it? Is it going to show in any browser in my system safely? So this is, I'm usually question answer. At the end, this one's so good that I want to talk about it really quickly because we're sort of talking about local files versus files that live on the web, huh? So a local file is something you've saved to your machine, yeah? And here, if you say, well, I've downloaded this font, it's in my system. This is going to be really frustrating because when you're working locally, when you're designing on you're viewing your HTML files, it's going to work. It'll all look exactly the way you planned. And as soon as you put that website live, it's not going to show that file anymore, just that font anymore, because that font is saved locally. So generally looking for a web font. So one that's hosted online, one that you've got and Leanne has a point as well. Leanne says the one that you've got the rights to use is going to make a lot of sense. Oh, Arav is looking into the future. Going to talk about fallback fonts. Yeah. So yeah, if you've downloaded a font and you're using the file that you've downloaded locally, it's not going to be available to your users online just because of that local versus online file issue. I saw some of the learners in Discord talking about having this challenge with images as well. If I save an image to my machine and I link to that, it's going to be challenging. Somebody's like, oh, what if I upload the font on my website to the server? Yeah, you could do that. It is possible to host your own fonts. Like where we are now, just sort of ease of pain in my butt. It's very poetic. I'd recommend using web fonts. Yeah. So you could upload it someplace, but right now we're going to stick with web fonts. Jess, is that because you're lazy? Yes, it is because I'm lazy. And we're also going to add another link element and link to our style sheet. Yeah. So I said, this feels a lot like, where's my brain? Where's my brain? Um, uh, Oh, so I've just said the way we're doing this link feels a lot like the way we're going to link to our style sheet. And we're going to go ahead and link to our style sheet as well. Everything's fine. So we've got another, let's do it above our meta. We talked about that last time that we think the links come first. When I say last time, I mean any time in the last million years, isn't it? The rel here is going to be sheet. It's another style sheet. And then our ref, where that style sheet is. And this is our CSS one. And that's going to be styles. And styles.css is just sort of the general convention for what we name our style sheet. Ooh. If Hedra says, hey, the font URL can be too long and it can make it, You know what? That's a really good do you think we should go ahead and move our character set above those then? I think you make a really solid point. And if Edris is saying, "Hey, you know what? We actually have to declare our character set. We have to have that meta tag within the first 128 bytes of our HTML document. Let's move that up." Yeah. Let's move that up. Y'all are out here saving lives, mostly mine. Let's move that meta tag. I knew one of these had to come first, and it's meta, isn't it? We are going to come on down. We're going to check our code, and everything continues to be fine. And we've been working on our HTML file. We've been pretty happy. We've been doing a ton of HTML. We're going to come into our CSS now. And remember, I love the beta version of this course because it shows us the file structure a little bit. Here we're in our style CSS. We can look at our HTML at the same time. We can look just at our HTML. But here, whoop, whoop, we're just going to look at our styles. That's super chill. So we're going to create a selector. And this is going to cover this is going to cover anything that fits in the body. We're going to give it a font family. We're going to give it a Phaeton family. Give it a font family of Open Sans. Oh, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I completely forgot how to. Is it just declaring one and then the other? Yeah, it absolutely is. I'm a goofus. Do I need a quotation marker on that? And I'm not cheating. I could only show you one window at a time. What I was taking a look at was over here on MDN. MDN is your friendliest dictionary for what's going on. Just wanted to check and see if I needed, if I need one name font family doesn't need the quotation point, and that's a really important point. So if my font family was called Lobster, I don't need the quotes. My font family here is called Open Sans. And since I've got the space, I'm reasonably sure. I'm gently, let's take that away. As soon as we got a valid font family in here, we saw it, boom, change. And Sadiq is pointing out that we can have the single quotes or the double quotes, which is very, very laid back. And Leanne pointed this out a while back to say, often we want to have a fallback in case something has gone wrong. And here, the way we specify a fallback is saying, hey, CSS, here's what I want to do. The font family I want to use, the font family I really want to use is Open Sans. But I'm going to give you another value. And if you can't find Open Sans, use this other one instead. And this is sans serif. Just a beautiful thing to say, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Juana's actually got a really, really exciting point. So say, look, I'm loading a font, and there's font subsets. If I'm just working with a Latin subset, can I remove all the others? I don't think I often would in practice, just in case folks are using automatic translation. Yeah, just in case folks are using automatic translation. But yeah, fonts can get very big. I don't know how much. There are plenty of font subsets with. If I'm just working with a Latin subset, could I remove the others? I thought I knew the answer to this, and I have no idea. Shall we go ahead and come back to this question at the end? And I'll do a little bit of poking and see if I can investigate. We wouldn't want to load them all. And Ephedrus points that out as well. But could you take the font file and split it up yourself? Because that feels like that could be kind of weird. Usually you'll have options within the font to only use a subset. I'm making this question harder than it needs to be, aren't I? Where I'm like, well, if you've got a font file, how would you split that up? This font. Let's go ahead and take all of our HTML and let's take the font size. And what we're going to do, this is saying, hey, everywhere in our HTML, I'm going to set the default font size to 16 pixels. Did that change anything? Hey, all right. Maybe it was already 16. So we're going to wrap our H1 and P elements in a div, and we're going to set the class to label. I can do that. And what we're doing when I was about to tell you, but what are we doing? What are we doing when we make a div? What is that? Because we're not going to see anything change. So what am I actually doing when I create this div? We've talked about it a bunch of times where it's an imaginary what? There's this label. I bet money, well, not real money, that's going to work. So what I'm actually doing when I create a div is I'm creating a conceptual box, an imaginary rectangle that I can now do stuff with. Yep, Siddiq is saying we're wrapping the H1 and P tags, absolutely perfect, in our imaginary box. And when we created a class called label, what we did is we put our H1 and our P and our other PM, we put those in a club. And now that we've got that club, we can go ahead and set rules for every element that's a member of that club. So here we're going to set a border that is 2 pixels. It's solid. Oh, I wonder if I do the commas here and it's black. Let's see. Okay, maybe I don't do the commas. Okay, no commas. And that's one of the nice things about programming is there's experimentation to be done. And really, of course, people do this for their main jobs. A lot of people make their living. There are types of programming that are deadly serious, and it's pretty important to do a good job. But at the same time, especially while we're learning, none of this can hurt us. We can goof off, we can experiment, and even though it's probably really annoying for y'all, we could be wrong as many times as we need to. So, right now, this feels kinda weird, right? And that's not a very official way to say this, but like this label, like the white space, and we're going to learn a lot about white space in design. That really means sort of the white space, the negative space, the empty space around your elements, or really the empty space on the page. The white space here is weird, right? I don't I, I'm going to go ahead and set a width to our label. And let's see what that does. Oh, we're going to set a width inside our label selector. Heck, heck, heck. And we're going to set that to 270 pixels. That's quite a bit of pixels. Huh. So what that's done, let's go ahead and take that away. Oh, and put it back. What that's done is change the size of our box relative to the white space around it, the rest of the page. We're going to check our code. We're going to keep going because some of this still looks a little wonky, right? So we're going to give our margin property set to 20 pixels auto and a padding property that's set to 0 and 7 pixels. This is going to be me being mean. I'm always mean to you all. What is the difference between margin and padding? They both give your elements space. Do you all remember where they give your elements space? We're going to set a margin and we're going to set padding. I'm killing some time to see if any of you will remind me. Killing time with this coffee, aren't I? So yeah, margin. And here I'm going to Control C, Control V. Margin sets the space outside. Oh, Leanne, after my honor, Sadiq as well. Margin is outer space. And padding is inner space. Yeah. I love the idea that, oh, and as soon as we copy these into, we see that the margin pushed and gave us some more outer space. And we say padding. Oh, we see that we push the outside back out, giving us some more inner space. I love the idea of inner space and outer space. This is such a nice way to do it. We're going to submit our code and keep going. Everything's chill. So, ooh, if you inspect our label element within our browser's development tools, ooh, view frame source. That didn't work. Do you know what? Let's talk really, really briefly about developer tools. And then if it's possible, could I get Mervyn, could you grab a link to the dev tools talk from the last bootcamp and drop it into the chat? So developer tools, if you right click on this lesson, you should have some options. I don't know if they show up I don't know if you all can see this when I do it. You all cannot see this when I do it because of the nature of screen sharing. But if you right click, it should give you some options like back, forward, save as, print cast, including view page source. Ooh. A view page source is really powerful, but dev tools are really powerful as well. And dev tools are a little suite of tools that are built into most modern browsers. So Miguel came and talked to us last time and looked really specifically at Firefox dev tools, but Chrome dev tools are really powerful as well. So are Brave, and so is Vivaldi, and so is the DuckDuckGo. But yeah, I was gonna say I'm not picking favorites, but I'm obviously picking favorites if I'm saying, hey, we had someone come and talk to us about. So we're going to. So this says, do you know what? If we look at our dev tools, actually, this is 288 pixels wide instead of 270. And you'll just have to believe me. Ashraf points out you Control Shift, I will open that up. And what I think one of the challenges is I'm not sure. Yeah, that's still not going to show on when I'm screen sharing. So there's default padding built in. And what we want to do is override those. So we're going to create a box model by creating a star selector and giving a box sizing property of border box. So what we're doing here, where am I? Where are my brains? So our box sizing property, huh? Reset the box model by creating a star selector and giving it a box size property of border box. Yeah. So here I am in CSS. That's going to say, hey, every single thing you find, all right, for everything single thing you find, we're going to have box sizing property of border. Okay, cool. Yeah. We're going to check our code. We're going to go on to the next code. What are we doing here? So I said our H1 and our H2 are similar tags. Determine the semantic structure of HTML. And we talked about this a little bit when I said, hey. This would have been ages back. This would have been week 1. And I said, what we're really doing when we set an H1 or an H2 or an H3 or an H6 is we're setting the importance of those headings on your page. Yeah. We're not really specifying the size. Oh, Sadiq points out, like I could have explained this. Box sizing means that we're telling it how to treat the width. And it doesn't need, so it's like, hey, I want to set the box sizing for you. You don't need to use the default. And Sadiq makes a really, really good point. This is what's going on. Oh, and Leanne, when we do the star, it does select everything. But the way what we call that is root. Y'all are very patient. What we're doing here is we're talking about the difference between semantic meaning and styling. And I like this because this is super weird. So when I set an H1, it's going to, by default, be pretty big and pretty bold. But it doesn't have to be. I don't have to use an H1 just to make it bigger. I can set the defaults on that through CSS. And that's really the difference between visual control, what does this look like, and hierarchy. What is the most important? It's H1. What is the next most important? It's H2. Super, super chill. So what we're going to do is we're going to override the default styling on this H1. I say, hey, CSS, every time you see an H1, I'd really love if you'd make the font weight 800. Oh, that feels very exciting, doesn't it? So we say, hey, I want you to, and we can do a lot of things with this. The font weight is sort of the thickness, the heft, the weightiness. We do experiment with this, but that's gonna embolden your H1, and that's pretty cool. And let's keep going just so we can get a pretty good idea of how this is. Let's also say, you know what? Every time you see an H1, can you also align this? That's not part of our default styling for H1s. Ooh, just a little wiggle. But I think that's important. Yeah, we're gonna go on to the next challenge. Everything remains chill. So we're gonna fine tune the placement of our H1. We're gonna wiggle it around a little bit. I want to say, well, ooh, we're gonna use that shorthand that I always forget. We're gonna give a margin, and we're going to do minus 4 pixels to the top and bottom. And I never remember if there's a comma. I bet there's not. And then a 0 to the right and left. Huh. Huh. I wonder which one's right. Oh, no comma was right. Sadiq is over here just making very, very good points consistently. So when we're using H1 or H2, our selection of those should be governed by semantics. So H1 is telling a screen reader or a search engine or some kind of machine. We say, hey, this is the most important heading. And then when you say an H2, you say, you know what, that's a subheading. So what we're really using our selection of what H1 or what H2 is to carry those semantic meanings, which is really important. We're going to say RP, and we're going to remove all margins. Hasn't taught us how to do that, but I think we did that with nutrition facts, isn't it? You think it's 0 pixels? You think that's it? Ooh, how do we feel about that? That might work. That worked. Everything's fine. Lines can be super, super useful. Just like, you know how when you're writing notes with a pen and paper, do people write notes with a pen and paper anymore? Sometimes you'll draw a line to separate those out. And what we're going to do is we are going to make a line. So below my H1 element, I'm going to make a div. And remember, a div is just an imaginary box. We're making a conceptual box. Where are we? And we're going to set the class is equal to divider. Amazing. I think this is going to work just fine. I think everything's going to be chill. And everything is chill. Yeah. What we're going to do is, Sharad, it sounds like you're having some problems seeing. Can you give me a little bit more detail about what the issue is? So we're going to set a selector from our new divider. Oh, heck. Yep, so that's a class. So I need is that how I spell divider? Divide. You know, it looks like it's spelled right. I'm going to go with it. And because we're selecting a class, we use that full stop before it, which is super laid back. We're going to set our border. Oh, Sadiq. We can also use an HR tag, which is sort of a built-in beats bolt-on bigly, which is something we learned in the last boot camp. Mervin, would it be possible to have you also grab a link to Bruce's video from the last boot camp, who talked about the joy of HTML? So our border bottom, we're going to set that to 1 pixel. And we're going to make that solid. And the color is going to be, whoa, so 88, 89, 89. Ooh, that's quite nice. And Sadiq points out we could use an HR tag just to draw a line. This gives us a little bit more woogliness, doesn't it? Say, you know what? An HR tag would give me a nice black line. This is giving me sort of a silver, very, very beautiful. I'm going to check our code. Oh, 2 pixels. Oh, gosh, that's because I'm rubbish, isn't it? Yes, it's because I'm rubbish. Oh, so pixels. And let's also give it a margin. Look at the lesson we're all learning this morning and learning every day is to read all the instruction. Margin. 2 pixels. And then we don't need a margin for the left and right. So we're going to turn that to 0. Let's see if that works. And Free Code Camp is just a gift for giving us a you didn't read the instructions error message. We're going to take our H1 selector and we've got a letter spacing property in CSS. And I think that's pretty cool. You all will lovingly correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the science, the art of spacing out letters is called kerning. And it's very distressing when it's weird, isn't it? We're going to set our letter spacing and we're going to set that to 0.15 pixels. I was going to cheerfully muse that I don't think that's changed a thing. And that hasn't changed a thing because there we am rubbish at spelling. So we just saw a little tiny bit of space pop in. Let's ruin the spelling again. You see just the if we see nutrition facts RH1, we just see it jump the tiniest baby bit. Everything's fine. We're going to submit our code and go on to the next challenge. So nutrition labels have a lot of bold text. Cool. And we're learning about typography, so let's learn how to do bold text. We're going to set our second P, the class attribute, set to bold. And this is weird because there's a bunch of different things we could do here. I could just set this to bold in CSS and say, make all of our P elements bold. That's not really what I want to do, is it? Some of my P elements would be bold and some of these won't. Oh, give our second. So what I'm going to do is create a class called bold. And this is going to give me a little bit more flexibility. Instead of going through and changing all the rules, I could just say, I'm creating a club called bold. And everybody who goes in this club, all the elements that go in this club, are going to get rules for being bold. Check our code. We've got a green stripe, so we're going to keep going. Our new class doesn't have any styling yet. We created a club, but didn't create any rules. I'm going to come all the way down. And the only reason I'm coming all the way down, I could put this anywhere. But the only reason I'm coming all the way down is sort of, keeping my class selectors up top, or keeping my element selectors up top, and then keeping my class selectors down here chills me out. What are my rules? Font weight 800? Yeah. Font weight is equal to 800. Oh, no, that's not pixels. Oh, that's very woof, isn't it? Just woof, that 800. Then it says, well, you know what? Get rid of the font weight in your H1 selector because we've really made a rule. We said, hey, this bold class is going to give stuff the font weight of 800. So we don't need to specify that anymore. I'm looking into the future and assuming we're going to add the bold class to our nutrition facts, isn't it? Are you going to do it right now? Yeah, I thought so. So we're going to set the class to bold. We're going to put this in the club with bold things. We said it immediately gets the font weight we want. And we're going to keep popping on. So horizontal spacing this way, is equally important. So like getting enough space can be really important. So we're going to wrap the text 2/3 of a cup in a span element Ooh, let's see what that does. Doesn't do anything yet, does it? We're going to set the class. What's going to happen when I set the class to right? And this is me being mean because this is a trick question. Nothing. Nothing will happen when I set my class to right. Why? We've created a span. We've created a fancy type of empty box. And we've set the class to right. Oh, heck. So we put it in the club, right? Why hasn't it changed the styling? Oh. Nothing. So nothing should happen. My dot right element. Oh, the issue is that I am a goofball and I'm putting this around the wrong paragraph element. What I'm doing is just Control X and Control V. So really, we did want nothing to happen. You're completely right. But we did nothing to the wrong element. Losing my mind. Let's just go ahead and redo this whole thing, huh? Get rid of you. Sometimes we just need to try this again. Wrap the text. Okay. Do you want that inside? Want that inside the P elements? Yeah. Only around the 2/3 a cup, people are saying. Oh. Y'all are sweethearts where you're like, Jess, read the instructions, and I refuse. Span around 2/3 of a cup. We're going to set it to the class of equal to right. Love to wake up and waste y'all's time. I do apologize. Okay. Let's try this time. So now we've got a conceptual box drawn around just the text 2/3 of a cup. And then we ended that conceptual box. Let's check our code. It works this time because you all lovingly have steered me to actually doing this right. But even when it works, it hasn't done anything, right? Right? Saying right when we're moving things to the right seems a bit, but it hasn't done anything, correct? Let's go ahead and create a class selector. And we're going to float, foul load. We're going to float this to the right. Yeah. We're going to check our code. Everything, as soon as you said float to the right, we saw whoop. Oh, wait, I'm reversed. Sorry. Y'all like, Jess doesn't know where her right and left is. We saw whoop, float to the right, and everything's chill. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap everything within the label element in a new header element. We do that. What's a header element, y'all? What's a header? Ooh, or what kind of element do we usually see come right after header? What's our sort of parent element? So a header is a parent element that contains a lot of the stuff that you usually see in the header, in the top part of our website, often navigation. What's the one that comes under that contains a lot of stuff? Yeah, so it could be we could header body. So header main is usually where we go. Leanne is absolutely right here. Leanne, you must just have these typed in ready to go. You're like main. We'll put you on a game show to check our code. Everything's fine. So we're going to use our H1 selector to be header H1 and specifically target. Ooh, this is weird and good. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, what's different here? This feels weird, right? This is me saying, hey, CSS, I think I'm likely to have more than one H1 on this. And you say, what? How can you? I said, no, it's cool. It's cool. But just in case you see another H1, the rules I've given you right here, just apply these when you see an H1 that's also in the header, if that's okay. You might be a little bit less apologetic to your CSS, but I'm always, oh gosh, if you don't mind, if that's quite all right. And this is showing up green as well. Everything's fine. We're going to create another div element under our header. Oh, heck. I'm going to do it right. We're going to set that to a class of divider LG. Do you know what? Somebody's reminded me that actually the Flexbox lessons were supposed to be homework, and I absolutely forgot to mention those on the stream. Would it be okay, since I completely forgot to mention that those were homework on Wednesday, would it be okay to come back and do a Saturday session where we take a look at the Flexbox lessons together? Yeah? As by way of apology, I'll do them on video for all of you, and you don't have to watch them on Saturday. You can watch them whenever you want. But that was absolutely me being rubbish. Somebody's helpfully pointed out, Jess, that was our homework. And I was like, oh, homework exists. Oh gosh. So we're going to create a new div element below our header element. We're going to set as a class set to divider LG. Super chill. I love how y'all are excited, like, yeah, ruin my Saturday. Y'all are weird. I love you. I love you in like professional, distant, non-weird ways, but you're like, Saturday class. Either I was a very bad student or y'all are very, very good students. Oh gosh, both enough. So we're going to take a new, what have I done here? All right, we're going to create a new LG class selector. Because what we did here is we set two classes, didn't we? Oh gosh, it's very, I'm going to squish you for a second. I'm so sorry, my preview. Take a deep breath down. Where are we? So here with this div, I created a new div and I said the class is equal to divider and then a space and then LG. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, this div, this new imaginary box, because I mean, everything on computers is a little bit imaginary. I want you to give it two classes at the same time. I want you to give it the divider class, which you already have rules for. And I want you to give the LG class, which is brand new. You don't have any rules for it yet, so you're not going to do anything with it yet, but they're coming. So what we're going to do is we see two lines right here. Can I select this line? Oh, heck, I can't select this line very well. We've got a line under our H1, and we've got a line under our serving size. And this little tiny thin line here is we're going to go ahead and change it a little bit and set rules just for this one line. So I'm going to set a height is going to be 10 pixels, please, because CSS just works better if you say please and thank you to it, doesn't it? And then we're going to, set an .lg .md selector and set the background property black. I don't think we have a .md selector yet. And one of the most exciting things about programming, so that hasn't done anything. Ooh, do you know what? Is it because I have absolutely forgotten how everything works? Background property, background color. Y'all, background color. I'm going to set background color to background color. We got to stop doing these so early in the mornings, my loves. Like, okay, that hasn't done anything yet. And I think that's because what we're doing here is saying, I want to set a rule for, and anytime you see the class LG, anytime an element has the class LG and the class of MD, set the background color to black. Oh, do I need a comma between those? What? What? Do I have a class of MD? What am I doing? Hmm, 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 and again, I say. Control find, MD. Wonder what's going on here. How exciting. Let's dig it. I bet it's going to explain it in the next one, isn't it? Oh, go away, index. Let's check and see. Hmm. Got MD selector. Hmm. Let's see if this is going to give us any clues. This okay, no clue. All right, y'all. Oh, we already created the MD class for feature. Cool. Cool. Sadiq, I am going to make you teach this class someday. Oh gosh. Oh, I would love to get one of y'all teach it instead of me. So there's still a small border around the bottom of my LG element. To reset this, come to the rules for .lg and .md. I'm still not super clear about where that MD is. Right? We're creating the MD class for feature. Ah, cool. Yeah, I did the exact same thing. So we're going to make the LD class in a little bit. It's going to be fine. Um, y'all know I completely forgot what's coming up in the next lessons. We're going to set our border to 0. Sadiq is such a sweet. I'm not playing favorites. All of y'all are sweethearts. Just be like, Jess, it's fine. It's going to be fine. And you're completely right. It's just programming. It can't hurt us. It's going to be fine. And I bet that MD class is going to pop up in a second, isn't it? We're setting our border to 0, which is fine. We got our green stripe here. What we're really looking for is that green stripe in it. So there we go. Create a new div below my LD. So a div, we're going to make that empty box. I'm going to go ahead and open my div and close my div just to make sure I got a handle on it. Before I set the class is equal to calories info. I could type that out, but I'm going to Command C and Command V that just to make sure I don't typo it because I love to typo. We're going to keep going. We got our little green stripe. Everything's fine. All right, we're going to create a paragraph. I got that. And I just like to open and close my new elements at the same time, just because it's a little bit of a faff. But faff, that's terribly localized. It's a little bit of a bother. There we are. If you forget them, isn't it? So we're going to set our class is equal to, and we've got a new class here, bold sm text. I bet this means our text is going to be bold. Wait, no, I'm not going to tell you. I think this class is pretty human readable. What do we think is going on here? So we've got 2 classes. One of them is the bold class we already made and we already set the rules to. If we think that this is a good human readable class, what do you think SM text? What do you think the rules for SM text might look like? Maybe pink. It's probably not going to be pink. What do we think SM text is going to ask us to do? Oh, amount per serving. And we see automatically, yeah, Leanne, I think you might be right. So bold, we've already got the rules for bold set. And we see immediately that when we say the class is bold, here's the text, it goes, yeah, I'm making that bold. I got you. And we've got Leanne and Sadiq saying, you know what? I think we might be adding a class that makes text small. I think I have a gentle, faint, dim in the distance suspicion that you may well be right. Ooh. So we've talked a couple times about the different units of measurement, the different ways to measure size and space on a web page. And we're using pixels a lot. We've used percentages. And rem is one we're going to see a lot. And rem is a relative unit. So what this is saying is it's relative to the font size of your HTML element. Yeah. So this is saying, hey, the normal text of your P elements, the default text in your P elements in the HTML element on this page, that's going to be the size of a rem. So the size of a rem is going to be the size of the text if you don't mess with the default. Remember that we've already set our font size to 16 pixels. Yeah, Leanne says, hey, and root here, remember that root means what's going on in the HTML element. Yeah. After my own heart. Thank you so much. I'm waffling through trying to explain this, and you're like, hey. Relative to the parent or nearest parent container. Yeah. What we're going to do is I've promised that we're probably going to set small text next. And we are going to make a class selector for small text. And we're going to set the font size. Yeah, so Sadiq, I think you're right. I think that we've set our font size here to 16 pixels. So I think a rem here is going to be 16 pixels. Y'all want to check me on that? But here, I'm setting our font size to 0.85 rem. Ooh. And this is so subtle, isn't it? So I'm saying, hey, our default text size, we're going to make it just a little tiny bit smaller relative. So just whoop. Yeah. So one thing with typography, and the reason that I'm so cheerfully bad at typography, is it's a very detail-oriented art, isn't it? Yeah. So what I want to say, hey, you know what? I just want this text a little tiny bit smaller. And you know what? I'm such a goofus. If I saw this on a page, I would not even clock that this bold text is a tiny bit bigger than this bold text. But really, the effect is very, very interesting, isn't it? We just submit our code. We're just going to do one or two more of these because I'm extremely mean. And as always, I'm going to make you do the hard stuff on your own. I'm so sorry about getting confused about your homework and not announcing, hey, we definitely need to do this. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that together on a Saturday session, maybe couple hours later than this one. So below our small text, let's just do this one and the next one, and then we'll chill. Yeah. Oh, when I chill, I mean assign the rest of this for homework. So we're going to create a new H1 element. Ooh, remember when I said it sounds very much since we're setting, where's my styles? I suggested that since we're setting rules that specify our header and H1, that maybe we could have more than one H1 on this page. And that's what's going on. And you might say, no, Jess. You said an H1 is for the most important heading on a page. I say, it is. Generally, usually, most often, you'll only have one H1 on a page, and that's fine. But here we've got one H1 in the header, and it looks like we're going to put one H1 in the, maybe more than one H1. We're going to put an H1 in the body, or the space below that, and I feel okay with that. Or in the main. Y'all, people letting me teach in the mornings is a crime, isn't it? I just forgot how to speak English and how, oh gosh, forgot how to read for a brief second there. So we're going to create an H1 element with the text calories 2/3. Okay. And we think this is pretty important. Our H1s are not about size, but they're about, hey, this thing is well important. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a span, just like we did before. And this span is going to wrap just the 230. Yeah. Oh, Sadiq, you're racing me to do this right. Thank you. And here, this has not done a full thing yet because we haven't applied the class right. As soon as we do, it says, right over. Everything's chill. Let's look at our next lesson, step 33. And then excuse me. You should have a new H1 element. I absolutely do. With my calories. Are we making a? This is suggesting to me that I'm creating a class called calories info, but this hasn't explained it super well, has it? So our error message is suggesting our H1 element should be within my calories info element. Is that what you want? That's not it either. Oh, we think the H1 element should be between the div elements and not after. You know what? Oh gosh, we already have a Hmm, mhm. We already have a div and a class called calories info. You are absolutely, completely, perfectly, incomparably right that I'm going to control X. I've put this in the wrong space. We think that this is coming inside, that it's the child of this div. Check your code. Let's just look at the next one. We're not going to do it because apparently I need 3 coffees in me. You all are so merciful. Cool. And what we're going to be doing, I say we, what you, ha 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 ha, need to do next is your calories info selector. That seems all right. That seems doable. Y'all feel okay doing this homework on your own? Yeah. And because I managed to mess up and give you the wrong homework last time, let me go ahead and just double check. Okay, I'm feeling much more confident about your homework tonight. Please, if you get a chance, do finish the rest of this. If you've got the time and you really feel like it, please take a look at the next lesson we're going to be doing tomorrow. And let's take a look at what that is together. So, what are we going to be working on tomorrow is, oh, heck, menu, curriculum. And don't forget that we're down in the beta. Everything's fine. We're going to come all the way down. We're going to be looking at tomorrow together. Ha ha ha, you've got to do like half of this on your own. Is we're going to start taking a look at accessibility. And this, the same way I don't have favorite students, I don't have favorite, no, that's a lie. I don't have favorite students, but I do have favorite focus topics. And accessibility is one of my favorite things to talk about with you all. So we're going to be talking about accessibility, and it's going to be really, really chill. Do you all have any questions that I can help you with? Yeah. Oh, watch out. You've looked ahead and say, hey, that MD class that we were confused. You're gentle. You all knew what was going on. I was like, what is this MD class? That shows up in step 37. Oh, you are so, so merciful. Would you make such a good point to say, do you know what? Doing it on my own, I actually learn more. And that's a big part of why we only do the first bits together. A, because I'm mean and I'm like, ha ha ha, I'm going to abandon you to the winds. But also, if you just follow along with the tutorial the whole way, you don't get the sort of weird, wait, what's gone wrong? Wait, what's this? Which is actually really good for your brain. Remember when Barbara and Zach came to talk to us? And it's about your attention octopus building chains. If I build a chain for me, I mean, just watching me doesn't really do it. Fedra's asking, what time UTC shall we meet Sunday? I was thinking maybe the same time as as we've been doing our Saturday sessions, which is at 10 a.m. UK. The exact same question. So the Flexbox session was designed for homework last Wednesday, but I forgot to mention it on stream because I am the worst. And I think what I'm going to do instead is run a Saturday session and cover that during the Saturday session, if that's okay. Yeah. So it being overlooked is my fault. I'm so sorry. And I'll chat about it with you on Saturday if that's okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Leanne. Oh, cool. We got a question. How are the tags calorie infos H1 and calories info span work? How are they read and distinguished? Cool, cool, cool. So really, actually, Sasha, I'm seeing a really, really good question here, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time answering. I'm having a little bit of a hard time parsing these questions. So the tags, so when you're saying, is there a specific lesson you're asking this from? If you showed me the text dot calories info H1, I'm parsing that as Here are the rules for an H1 element that has the class calories-info. And when I see calories info span, what I'm saying is, oh, hey, these are going to be the rules for a span, and really any span that has both the calories info class and is a span. Is that helpful? I'm not sure I answered the question properly for you. Sometimes when I set the font family, it doesn't work when it's got a 2-word name. Yeah, this is a thing. This is a weird thing. Like in this project, you're using the font family Century Gothic and it wasn't applied. What happens if you've got that open in front of you right now? What happens if you if you take Century Gothic and put quotation marks around it? I'm gently confident that that'll just magically work. And that's because CSS, when you give CSS a space, CSS is like, I don't know what to do with this space. So if you've got a 2-word font family name, you got to wrap those quotation marks around it. I like to do that for 1-word font names as well, just to make sure I don't forget. This happens all the time. I bet you actual imaginary money that you will see me do this on stream and completely forget about it as well. It's super common. But let me know if putting quotation marks around that fixed it. Yep. Where are we? Yeah, we got double quotes. Divider, why margin 2 pixels 0 and not auto horizontally? So if it really depends about how specific you want to be. I say, well, I always want to be 2 pixels 0 and less automatically resizing this responsively. It's really about how much control you want to have. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Maria's saying you added the quotation marks and it still doesn't work. Could I get you to drop a code pen or a copy of your code into the forum or into the Discord, and we can go ahead and take a look at it together? It's a little bit hard to be like, wait, I'm imagining your code, and here's what it might be. Yeah, we'll get you unstuck. Everything's fine. Ooh. So here's a question for step 41. There was a write class that had a float set to write. How clear property works here exactly? Oof. Where's step 40? Where's step 41? What's going on here? All right. And we got to look at this code for a second before we dive in. Just stretching everything. So we've done a little bit of work. So this is looking into the future where we've done a bit of work. I'm gonna squish you. So divider, a clear property set to write. Let's take a look. Let me grab MDN CSS clear. Let me grab that for you. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the clear property. Oh, let's grab you. So the clear property is kind of weird, right? And the clear property sets whether or not an element must be moved below floating elements that precede it. So here we've said, cool, we're seeing the float property. And this is really, when you float something, clear applies to the properties around that floating element. So here we've got, and I love, love, love MDN. Oh, Jess, is it because you worked at Mozilla? Well, I loved it before and I loved it after. One thing I really love about this is we've got these demos here. So here we're able to say, here are these 2 elements, and there's no clear. Here, we say, oh, okay. I imagine that this is the floating element. And when we say clear it to the left, it goes ahead and that moves it below. Here, it's moving it below right as well, or it's moving it below both. Weird, huh? So let's go way back. What we're doing here is we're saying, okay, we're going to go ahead and say our dividers have to be pushed down a little bit. Yeah. Let's see if that's what it actually does. It say we're floating some text. Which text are we floating? Hmm. Okay, we're floating the text specified right. So all of the text that's been pushed to the right is floating to the right. And we're just going to make sure here using the clear property, we're going to set it to the right. Yeah, and that's just saying, cool. Let's go ahead and make sure that we've got that extra space, that we're pushing it below these floating elements. Does that make any sense? It's weird conceptually, isn't it? Oh, I mean, why do we need the right class at all? So I was just like, oh, here's what's going on with. So the right class is still important because that. Wait, I'm reversed because that is going to float your. That is moving your right aligned text to the right. Sorry, that's nice and weird. So, ooh, Carlos, I love this one. Why did we add a new H1? Why wasn't that going to be an H2? I think the reason we decided to do another H1 instead of an H2 is well, Free Code Camp for us, sat down and very, very thoughtfully was like, you know what? Nutrition facts, that's really important. That's an H1 right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What else on here is equally important as nutrition facts? What else do we think is just like, hey, this is semantically equally important? I say, well, we think that's calories 230. So we could have done two H2s, or we could have made nutrition facts H1 and calories H2. But we thought, you know what? If someone's coming and they're looking for nutrition facts, they probably care. A, knowing they've gotten to the nutrition facts is probably well important. But we think what they care about after this is how many calories are in that. That's like a common important thing to look for. Ooh. And my last question. Um, in a real life example, should we have media queries to avoid expanding the site too much or its container? Carlos, this feels like a really good question. Can you ask this in a little bit more detail? So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure I understand expands too much. Are we suggesting that we want to set the site so that even if a user has a giant, giant viewport, a giant, giant screen they're looking at this on, that the website doesn't stretch out too far? Because if that is the question, that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to set. Does the curriculum cover parallax scrolling and pseudo elements? Yeah, it absolutely does cover pseudo elements. I would have to double check about parallax scrolling. I don't think it does. But you want to come and chat about this in a Saturday session? We'll definitely dig into it. Sorry, I'm just like, well, show up on a Saturday. You do not have, or bring it to the forum or bring it to the Discord. We can chat about this in more detail. Everything's chill. Yeah. Oh, we've got, so when I was chatting about, oh, here's what's going on with Clear. Um, Juan says this in a way I love it, like Clear liberates the flow of the document from the float property. We're setting float and we're saying, yeah, float matters, float's important, but it's not important to how this document flows. Do you know what? I'm going to cheat and cut and paste that because I see that coming up a lot. Do. I just checking. Yeah, fabulous. You all have been impossibly patient and impossibly delightful. I'm so sorry for not mentioning on stream last Wednesday that, hey, do this for homework. I'll go ahead and show up Saturday and do this with you. My apologies, and I will definitely, definitely, definitely make sure to assign even more homework every day. Speaking of that, your homework today is go ahead and try and finish the rest of this section. Very chill. And I bet you know before I say it, your evergreen, durable, always on homework is to have the easiest day you can. Like the whole world is stressful and the whole world is weird. Be as if it's first thing in the morning, you have to be real gentle to yourself all day. How exhausting. If it's the afternoon, you just got to be gentle to yourself for the rest of the day. That's fine. And if it's nighttime, you do not get out of your homework. You have to be gentle to yourself all day tomorrow. Ugh, brutal. As always, if you need any help, we're in the forum, we're in the Discord. Everything's super chill. Ugh, having to be easy on yourself on a Monday. Brutal, brutal homework. I'll let you go and have a good one. Bye, my loves.